Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real World Blockchain. This is the last episode of the year. You guys know that Real World Blockchain is the crypto payment podcast by Web3 Enabler, the first and only crypto payment solution on Salesforce and other CRMs. I am Gauthier Lamotte, one of your hosts. And to finish this year, to wrap it up, I'm blessed to have my two partners in crime from Moon Studio, Zoe Bredeman and Niall Smith. And I'm happy to have the two of you guys here to just recap what happened this year. Hi, Zoe. Hi, Niles.
Hey.
Hey, how are you?
I'm wonderful, and I'm very happy to do that just before the Christmas Eve. And so, the first news for this podcast, the first thing we want to talk about is that Zoe was at a Salesforce event. And so, Zoe, what was the feeling right there? How was the atmosphere?
So I got to learn about the Salesforce culture at Salesforce World Tour NYC. There was a very, very enthusiastic ecosystem, all excited to share their stories about how they're using AI and automation, for example, to drive business processes and business transformation, and got corporate presentations from William Sonoma and other big players in the markets. And it was just great learning from them, great having conversations with other ISV partners, learning how they're leveraging, again, automation and AI, for example, to streamline business processes that we deal with daily, make them simpler, make them easier so that we can focus on building and growing our businesses.
So that's the point of view of a tech girl with her feet grounded in the world of cryptocurrencies. And so, how did they rejoin your perspective? How did the average Salesforce admin or Salesforce developer understood cryptocurrencies and the Web3 in general? Were they literate in this regard, or was this still a small topic compared to AI or automation in the Salesforce ecosystem?
So I had to bring it up. Other than when I brought it up, they weren't necessarily aware, but they were very interested when I brought it up. Partly because it was so new to a lot of them. And a lot of it was that they were overwhelmed. And I said, well, that's why experts like us are taking away the complexity and putting it into a product that they can understand within the Salesforce ecosystem. And they got very excited about that. They wanted to learn. For example, I had conversations with an events management platform who was thinking about how they might be able to leverage crypto payments moving forward and enable their clients in servicing them with their products. So that was exciting. There was a lot of great conversations that started, and it made me feel good to be the one to break that down for them when, again, their gut reaction was to be overwhelmed.
Okay, so that's nice. That means that the market is getting mature, and that means that the tech is becoming more and more mainstream. Thanks, Zoe, about that. That's great. And, you know, every time we have Salesforce guys coming to cryptocurrency events, they feel like it's another planet. So from time to time, it's good to bring that new planet to them and to go to them instead of doing that. All right, so guys, I'm going to have fun with you. I'm going to ask you a nice question because, it was a hard year. Let's say the trust. It was a hard year for the sector, the industry of cryptocurrencies, and the Web
Maybe
three
a
in general.
beginning, but you know what? It's getting better, Gautier.
I know, I know. It's getting
It's
better
getting better.
as we're talking. The price of Bitcoin has risen up above 40K again, so we're pretty happy again until next time. But still, that was a shitty year. Let's talk crudely, but that was not a great year in terms of trust in the industry. Everyone who doesn't work in this industry has been basically telling me, "Oh, I heard that this FTX guy or this Terra Luna guy, are you bankrupt now?" And everyone who doesn't work in this field had that idea that we were bankrupt because they don't really know what we're doing outside from this. So this is not great for the public relations, and this is not great for our image. But I'm going to ask you a nice question. If you had to pick one between FTX's Sam Bankman-Fried or Terra Luna's Do Kwon, which one, in your opinion, had the worst impact on the public image of the blockchain industry? Not in the blockchain industry. This is debatable, but outside of it, like for all the people who are remotely interested in the subject and reading stuff about it, who do you think had the worst impact?
No, if you don't mind, I'd like to take this one.
Oh yeah, well,
first.
both of you.
And Gautier, it's funny because we had this conversation yesterday, and off the cuff, my answer was Sam Bankman-Fried with FTX, because that is something where it was an established company. He was working with politicians on the framework of crypto legislation, and that was detrimental to the entire industry when the entire thing collapsed based on his actions. Today, when I'm thinking about it, it actually might be Do Kwon, because that is code is law. And we're looking at smart contracts, which was Terra Luna and the TUSD stablecoin, which was pegged to the US dollar, that completely collapsed based on the actions of a supposed decentralized autonomous organization, or a DAO, and these people that were or are crypto and blockchain native. And this is not something that was necessarily related to external actions of crime or obscuring where the payments went, such as FTX, where that was just blatant stealing, right? It's something where, like, we are trying to go and build something within the blockchain ecosystem that failed. And now there is a question of, like, does smart contracts, does blockchains actually work? And I'm a little concerned based on that, like, these players are not trustworthy when they are introducing new projects, which should have, as we talked about, a completely trustless system. And that is really what is the foundation of blockchain, is that everybody should be able to understand what is going on and be able to trust how it's being built.
Yeah, so these people are basically making our whole industry sound like, like a club of crooks or something like that. And of course, that's not great for the for the whole image and for the whole whole trust issue. And what do you think about that, Zoe, yourself?
I agree. That's the first reaction when I've been introducing myself at holiday parties, for example, as a crypto executive. This is, these are the initial responses I get, and they get confused because they're like, you look nice enough, and I have to correct them, but I also have to say that these types of things will continue to happen, and obviously, all of these malicious actors, definitely were in the wrong, but there are a lot of hardworking, smart, and, well-intentioned individuals who are in the space as well, trying to drive innovation, trying to do various, build various types of products that will help the world, help with financial inclusion, with ESGs, various goals, and that's what people should focus on.
So basically, bad apples spew the pot, just like in many different industries, and that's a really tricky situation. But
it's human nature to think that way, that catastrophically, but it's not useful.
Yeah, I would like to ask you a related question, because you have a foot in the tech world. And how is it when you talk about tech people who don't come from the blockchain industry, who don't work in this industry. So they're not in our industry, but they have the same level of technical knowledge as you have on, on computer science. What do they think about these scandals, for example? Especially the code is law idea or other things like that.
Well, at least kind of from a technical or mathematical perspective, a lot of them see, both interesting and promising potential. For example, how to build technical solutions around governance, for example, specifically, how to build in privacy, how to build in security features, potential applications for speed and efficiency. And they get really excited over thinking about those kind of technical problems. And yeah, I mean, again, with use cases, again, seeing it, it definitely attracts a different type of crew among the geeks than traditional finance. So I really personally like that shift because, making all these things into math is promising on many levels.
Yeah, and I think like to that point, we've already seen a split within Ethereum 2 times now, right? With the initial launch of Ethereum, then there was the DAO hack, and that created Ethereum Classic. And then with the transition into proof of stake, now we have Ethereum and then proof of work Ethereum. And that is 3 different chains with 3 different ideologies of what does it mean to be part of the community and what do people value and actually want to spend time on with developing their own applications on blockchains.
For me, the change is maybe less philosophical here. I mean, the merge happened in 2022. So for our business people who are listening to us and who don't know what the merge was, basically at the end of 2022, we switched from proof of work. So basically having miners just like on Bitcoin. So people using computational resources in order to ensure the security of the network. We switched from that to proof of stake. So basically, because many people own assets, it's very unlikely that somebody will ever be able again to own 50% of the assets and corrupt the whole network. So I think that this is a very important technical change, but in terms of philosophy, I didn't see so many battles between the people who were pro proof of work and pro proof of stake. So there's a kind of unification here, whereas during the DAO hack, there was a huge problem because the DAO that was hacked was not produced by the Ethereum Foundation per se. So that means that the people who made Ethereum Classic said, no, we don't have to unilaterally act on the blockchain and make it centralized because it would be a philosophical crime. Well, now they are the minority blockchain, but still, I get their point. Basically, they said no, we have to let the people lose their $60 million because
Code is law.
Yeah, code is law, and because we didn't do anything wrong, what was done was that they trusted a bad DApp. But then again, the Ethereum Foundation thought, yeah, but that's bad PR, and here in this crucial era, PR is key. So I can understand both sides of the coin, but here the difference seems to me like is going to be more economical because of that the supply in Ethereum is going to be lower. Because transition from proof of work to proof of stake divided the energy cost by 2, roughly. So new annual emissions was divided by 4, like we were at 4%, now it's 1%. So less energy to run, less block rewards for stakers. So that means less new Ethereum ETH tokens coming into the supply. So basically, and on top of that, there are tokens that get burned and removed from the circuit forever. So mixed all of these things, and you have great deflationary asset, but also maybe prices will go higher. So it's hard to predict how it's going. So I have the feeling that it's not going to be a philosophical battle, but more about a challenge about how the community finds new business models now that things are getting mature. So you're not going to attract many people by just saying, "Oh, this is an asset that can rise again." So it has to be an asset with many use cases. So I'm looking forward to seeing those great use cases instead of just having people who just want to multiply their $100 by 10,000 in a year or something with a very risky gamble. I'd like to see something more business oriented now because the industry is getting mature. I don't know what you think,
I
guys.
absolutely agree. And I think that is interesting that you touch upon the point of proof of stake versus the proof of work, where we are going to see Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Dogecoin are really the only chains that I'm aware of right now that have a real market presence that are still within proof of work. I don't see them changing that process. And it is still important to think about, like, why would proof of work and allowing these players and individuals join this network based on this, like the mining, be beneficial versus all these other new chains coming in that require an initial large amount of capital to start a staking proof of stake chain. And with Ethereum being really the largest and the first chain to transition from proof of work to proof of stake, required billions of dollars. Other than something else coming in that is going to have like venture capital to bring in the initial amount of money that is required for like having a secure amount of money to then back the actual stake amount.
You know, you're talking about Bitcoin and a few proof of work blockchains, but so in France we had that very old vintage car called the 2CV, so two horses. I think the name in British English is tin snail, but I don't know if that's how it's named in the US. But basically, it was an unbreakable car. You could just fix it by just hitting it twice with your hammer. You could travel the world, and I even heard the anecdote of a guy who got lost with this unbreakable car, who broke the front of it, the front rack of it. And basically the guy was very sad because he was lost in India, and there was a guy in the village telling him, you know, we had one of these cars and we used the front rack to build a wall. So the guy basically bought the house for nothing, for a few bucks, broke the wall, rebuilt the wall, and used the front rack to repair the car. So these were unbreakable and very symbolic, because if you go to France in the countryside, you can still see those old cars and they're still kicking. So they're probably not going to hit 90 miles per hour on a freeway, but they're still kicking and they're great for the job they're doing. And basically, this is the way I see proof of work blockchains. Their purity is only matched by their rusticity. It's absolutely crude. It's costly. It's cumbersome. But on the other hand, because of that, it doesn't look like it's not breakable. Basically, if you're going to hike in the forest, you're not going to use high tech. You're going to use something that looks like a club. The more it looks like a club, the sturdier it is, and the better it is to basically survive with it, and it's not going to break. And that's what I like with Bitcoins. And I think that's the main argument for this thing. My forecast about this is that in 10 years, you're still going to see people using Bitcoin, but not because it's the best one, because it's the old one. It's so simple that it does the job, albeit not doing it not being the best at this job, but it's going to be a great payment solution because you're not risking anything. That's I don't know what you guys think, but usually Bitcoin is getting kind of low tech, but that's still its strength in my opinion.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with that. I think that Bitcoin, as much as we see these projects popping up, trying to become more like Ethereum, as far as like smart contracts and like Taproot and all that, really the core base is a standard that allows us to have a store of value.
Yeah.
And we agree as a community, and I think that's growing, that allowing to create value through proof of work, which is, let's be real, electricity, is something that we can all agree on. And having other systems that are like Ethereum, which are proof of stake right now, is much more of the transaction of value that is going to be separate from storing maybe like your life savings or trying to go and actually do trades or buying things that need a common currency.
And another thing, and that's going to be great to wrap this podcast up. The industry has been getting more mature because we had many heavy hitters using that. We had PayPal launching their own stable coin. We had many emerging countries starting their own stable coin as well. We had great companies such as Banana Crystal in African countries, or Satoshi Pay in the Middle East, and many other places where there were payment solutions for businesses. So exactly what we're doing with Web3 Enabler, but more in the B2C field, and we're doing it in the B2B field. And it's great because that means that the industry is asking for that. And that's cool because regulations around the world are now kind of over centralizing the blockchain industry, but at the same time, that means that this is now taken seriously. And that means that we had the MiCA law in Europe, and we had many other things. And the SEC, if I remember correctly, ruled that the XRP isn't a security, Niles.
That's right. Yeah. That was something that like started all the way back in like 2020 when the SEC sued Ripple. And just this year, it was ruled by the courts in the United States as not a security, which is really exciting because this allows us to have a platform and foundation within our framework of understanding what is a crypto asset in the blockchain. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how this plays out. And to your point of other countries, I know that earlier today, we've seen other countries such as like El Salvador last year,
Yes.
or I guess early today, or this year, I apologize, is working with Bitcoin as a system of payment.
Yeah, it's a legal tender, yeah.
Right. And now we're seeing other countries follow suit. And this is something where maybe next year we're going to have other ways to go and bring in these payments as far as like legal tenor.
And so
in yep.
Yeah. How did it turn out for the XRP Foundation because of that?
Well, price went up.
Oh yeah, okay, but they ended up in a safer position regarding that, right?
Absolutely. As far as I'm aware, no one went to jail.
Wonderful. Okay, wonderful. And well, that's good. That's good news for us because thanks to Zoe here, we're working now with the XRP Foundation, and that's great to finish that. Zoe, could you basically tell everyone how at Web3 Enabler and how Moon Studio is also working with the XRP Foundation, what we're developing for these guys?
Yeah, so we have a grant to enable payments using XRP into directly from Salesforce. So for any Salesforce admin, they can just manage these payments directly from what's called an org wallet without having a steep learning curve related to crypto. And again, these are the exciting types of conversations that I was able to have at World Tour NYC. And they were very excited because, they know how to manage the org wallets. They understand that. And all the initial fear and feeling of being overwhelmed was just eliminated. And when I specifically mentioned XRP payments, they got really excited for those who knew, but at a high level, but didn't see themselves as being able to use it, especially not for their business, which seems more overwhelming at the, at the enterprise level.
That's quite wonderful. And of course, we're going to have more exciting projects regarding Moon and Web3 Enabler, but that's something you guys are going to discover at, the end of the year when you guys read the newsletter that I will send at the end of the year. So please, dear listeners, stay tuned for that as well. Any last words, Niles and Zoe?
Yeah, I'm gonna steal Zoe's thunder right now, but I would like to announce that we have a Telegram channel specifically to Web3 Enabler, and bringing out a Discord channel, so that we're able to help any users figure out how to use us with Salesforce and bringing any news that is interesting to our listeners right now.
Wonderful. Everyone, this was Real World Blockchain, the crypto payments podcast by Web3 Enabler, the first and only crypto payments solution on Salesforce and other CRMs. This was Gauthier, Zoe, and Niles, or in the other order. I'm just doing this from my screen. And I was very happy to have you guys wrap this year. On behalf of the whole Moon team and the whole Web3 Enabler team, we are wishing you a very happy new year.
Thank you.
Thank you.